Big Ten postseason awards, well, I guess regular season awards are out. And once again, Illinois players take home some hardware.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome all to another edition of Locked On Illini. My name, of course, is Sunny Verma. I'm your host here. Thank you all so much for making us your first listen each and every day. Simple reminder, if you'd like to help support the program, just hit that like button while you're here. Make sure you're subscribed as we're trying to get to 2,400 subs by the end of the season. That would be an amazing run. Today's episode is brought to you by TurboTax. Ready for stress-free taxes and the most money back guaranteed? Head over to turbotax.com today and get matched with your expert. As I said before, find me on all your favorite social medias because I like to banter back and forth with the community. And that's today's episode. Usually, I know you guys are used to me releasing first thing in the morning, but my honest plan was to release an episode late in the evening once we found out who exactly Illinois was going to be playing on Thursday in the first round of the Big Ten, in their first round of the Big Ten tournament. But then I actually had one of my everydayers message me and say, hey, I can never see your live shows at night. Can you do a live show during the day? And, it's just something for us people at work who are only 50% working can kind of tune into. And so I was like, you know what? Sure, why not? I'm not doing anything today. So I decided to go live right around lunchtime, depending where you're at in the country. But again, another reason to follow me on your favorite social media, whatever it might be. Say something nice, say something not so nice, just keep it productive because, again, you guys can control the show, right? I'm very easy to get a hold of, and we can do these shows live if that's what you guys want. I'm going to kickstart this episode just talking about award season. Illinois, once again, does not come home empty-handed as two freshman players, which I think is very, very important, come home with some Big Ten accolades. I'll start with Kasparas. And I'm starting with Kasparas because it's funny now. Folks are starting to think that I'm down on Kasparas. I guess because I haven't exactly said he's the best player in the world over the past couple, maybe 5-6 weeks or so. I got a lot of love for Kasparas. I want to establish that for sure. I hold him in very high regard. I think he's a top 10 NBA player for sure. But I just want to be able to hold him accountable and not just be, I'm just super biased every time I'm talking about him on the basketball court. He struggled at times with his game this year, and I'm simply calling that out. But to silence those detractors, I'm going to go ahead and talk about Kasparas first, who won the third team All Big Ten and Big Ten All Freshman team honors. By the way, before I get started, have you guys seen that All Big Ten All Freshman team? I mean, you're talking about 5 guys who I'm not even talking about 5 future NBA players. I'm talking about 5 potential NBA stars on that team. The Big Ten Conference this year is absolutely loaded with really good up-and-coming young talent, and you can see it with a guy like, who I'm going to get to, Will Riley, literally won Big Ten Sixth Man of the Year, and he's not even on the all-freshman team. Maybe that has to do with the fact that he didn't start enough games, but it just shows you the depth and the really promising future of the Big Ten Conference as a whole. As for Kasparas, finished the season 15 points per game, 4.8 assists, shooting 83% from the free throw line. Obviously he carried this team for the first 2 months of the season with very little help from anyone else. And as of late, the roles have kind of switched a little bit. Kasparas has been a very good player. I don't know if I necessarily would call him our best player over the past few weeks, but he continues to provide the all-around game, and he's still the guy that defenses are most worried about. When you're trying to stop Illinois, the plan has to be to stop Kasparas. Kasparas also, as I mentioned, third, again, all Big Ten team, that's such a huge deal, okay? I know here at Illinois, we're kind of used to having guys finish in the all Big Ten first team, but, those guys were also veterans. And let's be honest, Kasparas was on pace to at least compete for one of the All Big Ten first team spots in the first couple months of this season. It's arguable he was on pace to compete for an All-American spot with the start that he had to this year. But, again, the freshman wall hit, and he did slump a little bit. His shooting has gone down a little bit, but he's still overall, when you're talking about the entire season, been the best player on this Illini team. And so I'm very happy that he had a chance to take home some awards, as did Will Riley, who, as I mentioned before, Big Ten sixth man of the year. And Will is a guy who I talk about a lot on the show, and it's because Will is kind of the embodiment of why I love college sports. You have a highly touted kid come in, and he has a great first game, scores 31 points in his college debut, and then he has to adjust a little bit. The game is obviously a little bigger, stronger, and faster than he was used to. And Will himself is not physically a very big guy. Sure, lengthwise he's pretty big, but when you just talk about, he is a little skinny and needed to put some weight on. But as the season progressed, slowly you could see his game, and more importantly, his confidence level pick up. And to the point where now, if you told us in November or even December that Will Riley was going to be the sixth man of the year, none of us would have taken those odds. We would think it's an instant loser. But Will is the guy who I've talked about over the last 3 weeks has been our best player. And it's because he's so hard to guard. The beginning of the season, he was super easy to guard. All he wanted to do was shoot threes, step back threes, run around and just launch a three, because that's where his confidence was. That's where he was getting some space. But the shots weren't falling. So he's adjusted his game a little bit. And I started talking about this in early January. My everydayers in here will know this. By the way, if you are an everydayer in here, say hello in the chat. I want to hear what I really want to know from you guys in the chat today is who would you rather face off today? Ohio State or Iowa? Who do you want to play in that first game of the Big Ten tournament, which kicks off later this evening? But I started talking about it in early January that, hey, I'm kind of focusing in on Will Riley, and I know his shot isn't falling, but he's clearly a better player from just a month and a half ago. He's taken on the defensive assignments. He's still not a good defender, but he's rebounding the basketball. And more importantly, he was kind of taking on a secondary playmaker role, which we were looking for outside Kasparas. Because Kylan, as much as I appreciate Kylan, I don't think Kylan's a natural point guard. And I think that when Kasparas is gone and Kylan has to take on the natural point guard duties, I don't think that's good for Kylan's game, which overall is not good for Illinois. So Will Riley kind of became the de facto playmaker, and he's kind of carried that role even lately. When it's not Kasparas, it's Will. The two-man game between Will Riley and Tomislav Visic over the last couple of games, I'm telling you, that's dangerous, and it's one of many reasons I'm so excited to see how this Illinois team fares, not just in the Big Ten tournament, but in the NCAA tournament right after it. It's just very, very hard to stop. But, I just want to talk about it. Kasparas and Will Riley, two of the most heralded freshmen that we've had in a very long time, coming to Champaign and leaving the regular season with awards, with hardware. And you know what? We know this matters. It's one of those things where it's going to get noticed by future recruits. Guys like Costanza, guys like Dame Sar. I think it's Dame. I said Dame in a previous episode, and someone in my Discord corrected me, thinking that it might be Dame. So if it's one of those two, let me know which one it is. But I'm going to go with Dame because that makes more sense. Dame Sar, those guys are kind of projected to come in and take the, let's just say, Will Riley role, right? And Brad and the staff can say, hey, look, we know what we're doing here. Will's now graduating. He's won Big Ten sixth man of the year. Now he's going to go to the NBA, be a top 20 draft pick. We can do the same thing for you, because that's what these kids want. A kid of Sar's caliber, he's not coming to Illinois to play 3 seasons in Champaign. No, he's here to play 1 year. He wants to, I would hope, win. And guess what? Illinois does that. Illinois is one of the only 4 programs in the last 6 years to win 20 games. They're going to want to be productive. And that's kind of, again, another thing that Brad Underwood can say, hey, look, we're going to put you in a role, and as long as you produce, you're going to go home with accolades. You're going to go home with awards. Again, Kasparas has got 2. Will Riley got 1. And, you're going to play in the postseason. And, Illinois, again, sure, there was maybe 5 minutes of worry during the season, but Illinois looks like they're going to be at the very least an 8 seed in this upcoming NCAA tournament. But, if they have a pretty good run, they beat Maryland and, win another game or 2 in the Big Ten tournament, I've seen them as high as number 5, actually. I believe it was in Joe Lunardi's bracket just this morning. So, again, with this late season surge that they're having, they very well might be able to get a 5 seed, or even I would be completely content with the 6 seed. The point is we want to avoid the 1s as long as we can because we want to make it to that second weekend. So I just want to give some credit to the Illini basketball players, the Illini coaching staff, in a year that was a complete rebuild. When you're talking about maxing difficulty, how about replacing 10 guys off of your Elite 8 run last year and then kind of coming back and still producing not just 20 wins. Well, hopefully it's going to be 20 plus wins. That I'm not taking that for granted. That's what I'm most grateful for. Even in a down year, you win 20 games. We haven't always been able to say that. And there's not a lot of college teams out there that can say that, including the Blue Bloods. But also, hey, Illinois continues to prove year in and year out that they will develop the talent, that they're not going to necessarily let that talent go to waste. That, hey, if you're good, if you put your head down and you work your butt off, we'll put you in a role to succeed. And not just succeed in Champaign, but to succeed in the sense of the national story and the Big Ten media. Because again, it's the Big Ten is acknowledging that these young players are getting the job done properly. And, credit to Brad Underwood, credit to the coaching staff, and more importantly, credit to Kasparas and Will Riley for doing the work. This is a message from sponsor Intuit, TurboTax. Taxes was waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back, and then waiting, wondering, and worrying some more. Now, Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return, while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert who will find you every deduction possible and file every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy, all so you can get the most money back guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now this is Taxes. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service, real-time updates only in iOS mobile app. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. And welcome back. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and join our Discord. Our Discord is only a couple members away from 100 people. That's right. There's 100 Illini fans spread all across the country with a place, a central location, just to talk Illini sports, and not just Illini sports. We're talking baseball a little bit right now too. Spring training's upon us. My Cubs are going to be playing in Japan very, very soon. But it's another way for hey, if you're home and you're telling your wife stories about the Illini and you can tell that she doesn't care, come join the Discord. It's a place for all of us just to get together. It's spring football season now. Football's practice is kicked off today, actually. It's Wednesday, March 12th. They kicked off today. If you caught my short episode yesterday, I talked about how Brett Bielema officially confirmed that there's going to be no spring game this season. And it doesn't bother me too much. I think it bothers other people a little bit more. Quite honestly, the truth is, I think this is just going to be more of the norm. Brett did say during his press conference that he thinks it's just a one-year thing. I'm not so sure with all these other football schools canceling their spring games and, citing reasons for it, saying, hey, they don't want to give up the competitive advantage or let opposition scout and really make overtures with potential transfer targets and whatnot. I think Brett is legitimate when he says that he loves spring game football, but he's also someone who really wants to win in the game of football. And I don't think he's going to be giving up a competitive advantage to other teams in the country if he's not going to do something that they're not doing, if that kind of makes sense. Another tidbit that was dropped, which I guess is not surprising, and I don't even say I guess, it's not surprising, is highly touted incoming transfer from last season, Terrence Brooks, is no longer with the football team. It was such a big deal when he had signed with Illinois. He had entered the transfer portal off of a very good Texas Longhorns football team, one that had gone to the college football playoff. And once he had decided to commit to the Illini, and keep in mind, Aaron Henry and Brett Bielema, they went all out to get a guy like Terrence, particularly with his family. I believe it was his father that they had some really deep conversations with about bringing him to Champaign. And I remember the news being so big that when Terrence had committed to the Illini, I myself was invited on multiple national shows just to discuss this news because it was such a big deal. It was kind of a signal for, hey, Illinois football, are they back? I guess, I mean, we've never been there, so it's hard to say, are they back? But is Brett really raising the national profile that we're getting kids like this? And then the regular season happened. And if we're being honest about it, Terrence really didn't produce very much. Now, we didn't see him on the field all that often, but all signs point to is just because, let's be honest, the Illinois secondary was one of the better ones in the country. We have really good players back there, and that unit very much overperformed what I think were the expectations. Maybe the expectations would have been there if Brooks was playing, but Brooks was considered by many people, and probably me, as being our best defensive back. And yet, he hardly played. And from what I've gathered, it's just when he wasn't on the field, or at least with practice, he wasn't just going all out like some of the other players were. And Brett Bielema, he, in my opinion, he's building things the right way. That you're given an NIL contract, but that doesn't mean you're given a spot on the field on Saturdays. That part you have to earn. And for whatever reason, Terrence wasn't able to make it to that level. And it's one of those where kind of shows you the up and down nature of this transfer portal. It's funny, as Illinois, I talked about how we know how important that transfer portal is to the basketball side. And, even with football, we get so excited when you have big names from other schools who want to commit and come to Illinois. And, we just dealt with it for the, I forget his name now, the tight end from Georgia who came home to Champaign because his grandfather was sick. And unfortunately, he didn't really work out on the field as well. And now you have Terrence Brooks. And again, those are two of the more highly regarded transfer recruits that Illinois has gotten. High profile. You're talking about 4-star, if not, some grades had 5-star talent ratings on them. And those guys didn't work out. But who does work out here at Illinois? It seems like it's the guy who other people are overlooking, or guys who are at smaller schools who, in my opinion, just come in hungrier. They come in at, their junior years from a smaller school, and they know they got to put their head down and work because they succeeded at the smaller school, but they only have a year or two left at the highest level to prove that they can make it to the next level, and that's the NFL. And they know Brett Bielema is the coach that, as long as you put in the work, he can get you ready for that next level. You have some guys who come in and they're just not able to put in the work, or maybe choose not to put in the work to, really guarantee yourself minutes on the field. And, for those guys, as we see with this Terrence Brooks situation, they don't end up lasting very long. And, so be it. It's just one of those things where I have to remember myself moving forward that, hey, when Illinois does get these highly touted transfers, I shouldn't hold those in any higher standard than I should the ones that are lower graded. Because if Brett Bielema wants you, I don't think he cares if you're a 4-star, 3-star, 2-star. I don't think it matters. I think with each of these guys, if Brett Bielema likes your traits, if he likes what he's heard about you, talked to your previous coaches, he's going to bring you into Champaign. After that, it's all on you. And again, the NIL is one thing. NIL is to get you through the doors. The NIL is not to get you on the football field. And quite honestly, as an Illinois fan, I'm okay with that, because I do know that we have a head coach now who knows what he's doing. And really, outside that, when was the last time Illinois actually can have said that? Looking to optimize your nutrition this year? Factor makes eating well easy with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals that are fresh, never frozen, and ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences every week, you can customize your meals to fit your lifestyle, whether it's Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. Plus, Factor even offers wholesome smoothies, breakfast, and grab-and-go snacks to keep you fueled all day long. I love how Factor takes the stress out of meal planning, and the convenience is unbeatable. No prep, no mess, just great food in minutes. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 off and use code lockedoncollege50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code lockedoncollege50 off at factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. We have 11 likes and we have 23 people watching. So let's get those likes up. That math is not mathing, as we like to say. I wanted to address it. The NFL free agency kicked off over the weekend, and I guess it was on Monday. Good start for my Bears. Obviously, I think we're now back-to-back off-season champions. But I did want to note some Illini players who were able to sign new contracts. Jake Hansen re-upped with a 1-year deal to the Houston Texans. We had Nate Hobbs, who signed with, unfortunately, and I hate saying this, the Green Bay Packers. So he's someone who's going to be playing interdivisionally for a little while. And I just wanted to, let's get to some of your comments real quick. Kenosha says, Will Riley's footwork is unmatched, and it keeps getting better. You're absolutely right, Kenosha. Haven't seen you in a while. Thanks for stopping by. Kenosha says he wants us to face Iowa. Sam says Ohio State. And Kenosha also says, should Tomislav try the NBA draft? I could easily see NBA teams taking a chance on him. Personally, I think Morez is a prospect as well. Mark Price will give him a jumper. I think if Tommy really excelled in the NBA draft camps, he could probably sneak into the end of the draft, late second round. But if we're being real, I think in the Illini and Icon and the NIL, they can offer more money than what a late second rounder in the NBA can make. And I think it just makes sense for Tommy to stay on with Orlando Antigua, who is not just a great recruiter, but he's one of the best big men developer in the entire sport. And I think it's wise on Tommy's behalf to, have one more offseason working with Orlando and, continue to develop. And then I think next year, you're talking about someone who can maybe sneak in to early second round or maybe even late first round, especially with that size and that shooting ability. And I think Illinois themselves are planning for Tommy to return at least one more year. And then beyond that, probably want to play at the next level. Jason French, good friend of the show, says, everybody is healthy. It's time for a run, y'all. Yeah. I'm excited. I keep holding my breath, hoping that nothing random comes up, no new guy gets sick or, so-and-so is hurt. All I've asked, all I wanted, look, I've been mocked on my own show, on social media, talking about how highly I look at this team. And it's true, right? I mean, you go back just on any episode from like a week or two ago, you'll see Michigan State fans show up on just leaving comments, teasing about how I still think, Illinois has the high ceiling in the Big Ten Conference. I don't know if I believe that necessarily anymore, just because Jace Richardson is really just tearing it up for Michigan State. Michigan State is the best team in the Big Ten Conference, but I always said Illinois had the higher ceiling because they had the NBA talent. Well, Jace's NBA talent. So he might be, the guy who kind of puts that on the Michigan State Spartans' favor. But regardless, it's one of those where all I want to do is see the team healthy, and then whatever happens on the court, I'm fine with. Because I try not to make the excuses about the health, someone being sick or players missing. But it's hard not to understand the context because those things matter. It's one thing if I say Team A is the best team in the country, but Team A is missing its first and third best player. Well, that Team A, like my first statement doesn't necessarily apply to Team A without their first and third best player, right? So it's one of those where if Illinois goes into this Big Ten tournament, has a decent showing while they're healthy, and more importantly, goes into March, we're in March, but in the actual NCAA tournament, and they make a Sweet 16 run or they make an Elite 8 run fully with a full stock of talent, in my opinion, I'll be like, good, that's exactly what I thought this team can do. But if the team is hurt, if some guys don't play and they have an early exit, I know I'm going to be wondering what if in my mind. But if the team is fully healthy and they lose in the first round, then it's going to be one of those, well, you know what, hand up, looks like I was wrong. And, I've been wrong before. I'm going to be wrong again. But I think that's going to wrap it up for today. Got another video coming out a little later. It's just another Big Ten preview. Those of you who watched the entire shows, you've already seen that episode before. It's me and JR when we previewed the Big Ten tournament. I think that's going to release right at the tip-off of when Big Ten tournament starts. So that's going to be a short segment from a previous episode. But on your way out, please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. And more importantly, if you're here, do me a favor. If you're a YouTube watcher, can you find me on your favorite audio platform? And just hit the subscribe button and the download button. We're trying to get those audio downloads up a little bit higher. And if you are on the audio side, I want to sincerely appreciate you guys for tuning in each and every day. That's it for now. We're going to have a show Thursday. I'm not sure if we're going to have a full episode in the morning or if I'm just going to wait for the post game. Of course, you need to be subscribed to this channel because I'm going to go live immediately after the game, whether that's Ohio State or Iowa. Let me know in the comment section if you want me to do a show in the morning. I will for you guys because again, it's my show, but it's really all about your guys, and I love getting your guys' feedback. So I'll do whatever you guys want. Until next time, ILL. Love you guys.